We are at video number 0020. Intellect over mind. The mind is by nature outward looking. Through the five senses, it constantly receives impression from the world, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and touches. These endless impressions create continuous waves of thoughts. The mind is by nature outward looking. Through the five senses, it constantly receives impressions from the world, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and touches. These endless impressions create continuous waves of thoughts. When uncontrolled, the mind becomes the playground of desires, dislikes, and anger. These disturbances block the light of wisdom. Therefore, one must learn to pause the restless flow of thoughts by training the intellect to guide the mind and withdraw the senses from their objects when necessary. When the intellect rules over the mind, one learns the art of not cooperating with the mind's lower tendencies. Instead of reacting with hatred, revenge, or greed, the intellect directs one toward forgiveness, compassion, and love. Yet, even when one turns away from desires, a subtle attraction, the taste for them may remain. That too dissolves only when one directly experiences the bliss of the divine. A student is asking another question. You often speak of mastering the mind, but what does it truly mean? Isn't the mind itself the one that tries to meditate or think of God? The Guru replies, that is the beginning of true inquiry. The mind is like a river that flows outward. It is constantly being fed by the streams of your senses, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. Each sense brings in experiences and impressions from the outer world. As long as this flow continues unchecked, the mind remains restless. It jumps from one thought to another, chasing what it likes, running away from what it dislikes, and getting angry at whatever stands in its way. This is the natural condition of the untrained mind. The student is asking another question. Then, if the mind is restless by nature, how can one ever find peace? The Guru replies, peace comes when the intellect, the higher faculty of discrimination, takes charge. The intellect is like the charioteer in the Bhagavad Gita's great metaphor. Arjun is the individual soul. The body is the chariot. The senses are the horses, and the mind is the reins. If the reins are in the hands of the untrained horses, which are the senses, the chariot runs wild. But if the intellect, who is the charioteer, holds the reins firmly, the horses obey, and the chariot moves steadily toward its destination. The realization of truth. What is the destination? The realization of truth. So, mastering the mind means letting the intellect, the light of inner wisdom, guide the senses and thoughts instead of being dragged by them. A student is asking another question. How does one train this intellect? How can it gain such power? The Guru replies, through practice, abhyas, and detachment, vairagya. First, the intellect must see the mind clearly. Observe how it behaves when left unguarded. Watch how the mind jumps at every passing desire, how it reacts to praise and criticism, how it gets disturbed by the smallest of events. Once you become aware, you begin to separate yourself from the mind's movements. You say, this anger is in the mind, but I'm not the anger. Then the intellect can intervene. When the mind says, retaliate, hurt them as they hurt you, the intellect replies, no, my true nature is peace. I will respond with forgiveness. This ability to veto the mind's impulses is the supremacy of intellect. The student is asking another question. But isn't the pull of desire sometimes too strong? Even when I try to control it, a subtle craving remains. The Guru replies, yes, that is very true. When the senses are withdrawn from their objects, the desires lose their power. Yet their taste, their subtle memory still lingers. It is like removing fire from iron. The iron cools, but for some time it remains warm. Only when dipped into the cool water of divine experience does even that lingering warmth disappear. In the same way, when one experiences the divine, the infinite joy that is beyond sense pleasure, all worldly cravings fade away naturally. As the Bhagavad Gita says, the embodied soul may restrain the senses, but the taste for them remains. Yet, even this taste disappears when one experiences the Supreme. This is from Bhagavad Gītā, chapter number 2, verse number 59. The student is asking another question. So, it seems the goal is not suppression but transformation. The Guru replies, exactly. Suppression creates tension, but transformation brings liberation. You cannot kill desire by force. You can only dissolve it by giving the mind a higher joy. When the mind tastes the bliss of meditation, service, and divine love, the lower pleasures automatically lose their charm. Just as a child gives up his toys when he grows and discovers higher delights. This is the spiritual alchemy taught by Lord Krishna. Not to run away from life, but to rise above its pull through wisdom. The student is asking another question. And how do we begin? What is the first step in this journey? The Guru replies, begin by cultivating awareness. Watch the mind as you would watch a restless monkey. See where it goes, what attracts it, what disturbs it. Then every time it pulls you toward anger or greed, pause. Ask your intellect, is this thought leading me toward peace or away from it? That question itself is a light. Gradually, you will notice a space. The space between impulse and action. In that space lies freedom. Next, nourish the intellect through study, swadhyaya of sacred texts, reflection, manana, and meditation, dhyan. The more you understand your inner world, the more easily you can direct it. A student is asking another question. What happens when the intellect finally masters the mind? The Guru replies, then you become free. The senses obey your will. The mind becomes a faithful servant, and your awareness rests in the peace of the self. You no longer react to the world. You respond to it with calmness and compassion. Desires no longer chain you. Desires no longer chain you, they dissolve like mist before the rising sun. Such a person walks in the world, yet remains untouched by it. Such a person walks in the world, yet remains untouched by it, serene, wise, and full of love. This is the Sthit Pragya described in the Bhagavad Gītā, the one of steady wisdom. The student is asking another question. So, the true battle of life is not outside but within. The Guru replies, yes, the real Kurukshetra is the battlefield of your own heart, between the restless mind and the awakened intellect. When the intellect, guided by divine wisdom, takes command, victory is certain. And that victory is not over others, it is victory over your own lower nature. That victory brings peace, clarity, and the joy of union with the divine. This is the essence of all yoga, all meditation, and all true religion. To make the intellect the master, the mind the servant, and the self the king. Now we come to the closing reflection for you. When you let your intellect shine with the light of discernment, you become the director of your life's play, not a helpless actor reacting to every scene. The mind is a wonderful tool, but a dangerous master. Let the intellect rule with wisdom, and the mind will become your greatest friend. Then, as Krishna promised, you will live in peace, work with joy, and rest in the eternal happiness of the self. Hari Om.